Jake Ruben, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, Kino. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Just so I don't get this wrong, how do you pronounce your second name?
Yanitz.
Yanitz.
Correct. That
And
was
what's the
beautiful
heritage
pronunciation.
behind that?
So it's a combination of a Hebrew and a Romanian name. My parents got very creative, and it was a great great grandparent and an aunt, great aunt, and they kind of combined those names into Yanitz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nitz. That's unique. That's unique and
Yes.
cool at the same time.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Love it. So welcome to the show. I know we were meant to do this show like a couple months ago. Like we just kept, rescheduling over and over again. I had technical issues, then I had power outages, and then I was without power for 2.5 months. But thank you for being so patient and for joining me on the show. Much love, much love. I mean, we got a topic to discuss today that is linked to your artistic work, which is a book, which is a topic that is spoken not only on this show, but one of my other shows each and every single week. But you are changing the game with this topic. That's what I can say from what I have read so far. But before we get to the book, Jake, I would love to get to know you better. Where did it all start for you? What's your day one looking like? You can start at any point in life.
Sure. So I have always been what you could call a seeker. I always felt this burning desire to understand life and why we're here and what's the point of all of this. And I remember at 14 years old, I was lying in bed, and all of a sudden I thought about death. And I thought, well, what happens when we die? And does my consciousness just go out like a light? Is it like just turning off a computer and that's it? And then I thought, well, if that's the case, what's the point? And I kind of just stuffed that away for a while, but kept learning and researching and studying just the human experience. And I knew that I wanted to help people. I also have been a business person. And so it was this combination that was pulling me forward in terms of how can I be of service to humanity. I knew that I was here for a purpose. I didn't know what the purpose was. For me, it came quite a bit later in life. And after doing some business things that were financially pretty good, but not fulfilling to me, I realized I need to pursue why I'm here. And I didn't really know what that was, but I stumbled upon hypnotherapy and I didn't really know much about it. I felt like it was something that, could possibly help people, but I was skeptical. And I went and tried it for myself. And it was nothing short of miraculous in terms of the transformation that it provided to me, the ability to just change habits and change viewpoints. So I pursued becoming a hypnotherapist and was doing this type of work for many, many years. And the issue that kept coming up again and again, almost with every client, was anxiety. And I started to ask myself, first of all, why is it so common? Why is every person coming to me with anxiety? And the more I learned about it, the more I realized I was an anxious person. I
Yeah.
wasn't, in debilitating anxiety, but I constantly felt this like heaviness and dread. So I decided I need to get to I need to understand what's happening here. So that was really like the pathway to the book. And for me, it's my life has always been about elevating humanity. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. And this book, I talk about it in the book that it was a download. It did not come from my mind. It came from beyond my mind. And I was able to just encapsulate all of the experiences that I had in my life and to begin to understand that anxiety was not what it appears to be. It's not a mental disorder. So I just started to kind of get my ideas on paper and here we are. But I've always been a seeker. And eventually what I realized that I was seeking was not outside of myself. It was always within me.
How would you define hypnotherapy in
Sure.
the simplest term possible? The
Yeah.
simplest
So
way possible.
hypnotherapy is a type of therapy that works directly with the subconscious mind. Sometimes people call it the superconscious or the higher self. We all have these two parts of our mind. We have the conscious mind, which is where we have logic and reasoning and decision making and willpower, and we kind of operate from that day to day. But then there's this other part of our mind, which actually runs about 85% of our mind power, which is the subconscious mind. It is the operating system, if you will, of us
Yeah.
as humans. And it's just like the phone, right? Like if the operating system can't support your apps or the operating system is corrupted, whatever you try to do on that phone is going to give you problems because the operating system, the base coding, isn't working with what you want. So when you want a change in your life and you're only using 15% of your mind power, you're only using your conscious mind, it's very, very difficult because the subconscious, the operating system, pushes back. So hypnotherapy is a tool and a process in which we bypass that the mental noise. We bypass the mind. We even let the body go and we get into this pure subconscious awareness where we can make really powerful changes.
And what would be the difference now between hypnotherapy and normal therapy?
That's
Is
a great
therapy,
question.
I'm just going to make an assumption here, is like therapy focusing more on the conscious and hypnotherapy on the subconscious.
Yes, very much so. And I think, therapy, when it's used to understand maybe your past or past trauma, to begin to kind of piece together the story of who you are, where you're maybe being held back, and where you feel like you need growth, is a really powerful tool. But it stops short in its ability to make change. Because when you keep talking about the same issue again and again and again, I'm not confident. I want to be more confident. Why am I not confident? Oh, because my parents, you know, uh, put me down. And when I raised my hand in school, I got laughed at. Okay. But if we keep just talking about it, nothing's changing.
Yeah.
What hypnotherapy does is it goes to the base. It starts to reprogram and rewire us for a different experience, a different perspective, a different way of seeing things.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate to that. I can relate to that. And what I love to do on the show is also share my own personal
Please.
experiences, which is what's going to make, this discussion so awesome. But just on the topic of therapy, like I should always ask myself, when people should go to therapy, week after week or, 2 times a week. But then I should see that there wasn't really any positive result at the end of the road, and I should always ask, just like you being a seeker, as in why, why not? Why is there no result? Because one example I can bring on the table, there was a girl that I knew last year, and look, I mean, there was a lot of trauma involved, with her at home. A lot of violence at home, both physically and psychologically. And, she ended up going to see a therapist. First, she attempted to commit suicide.
Hmm.
She was rushed to the hospital. The hospital then referred her to a psychiatrist, and then she started going to therapy. And a few months later, there was no change. Those same
Right.
bad habits started to surface again. So I always had an issue with that. Like what you're talking about, the subconscious, like you and I have like a similar background when it comes to like, purpose and what that purpose is and finding a purpose. You always knew it was there, but what is it? So I can relate with that as well. There was a period in my life also with me, growing up. Okay, I'm not telling the audience, or I'm telling you now that I grew up in a home that was completely broken and there was abuse. My parents loved me, but there was still a lot of, abuse comes in many
Oh,
forms. And
yes.
and psychologically, when you're getting abused psychologically because of the surroundings or because of family disputes, because of that specific environment, that can affect you for the rest of your life. Whereas physically, you could get hit, but tomorrow, those wounds will start to heal.
Sure.
So it sort of affects, into your teenage years, into your 20s.
Whole
And then I
life.
had
Your whole life.
exactly, and then when I was in my teens, I sort of realized there were certain things that should trigger me to be violent, but I never like really pay attention to it, at that time. And then in my 20s, I started to really pay attention to it. And I'm like, what's happening? Something doesn't seem right here. Why does, okay, maybe I should like quote every action as an opposite and equal, reaction, but like, not sure if that really fits into this, but something would happen that would result in me, behaving in a certain way, or someone will say something that would affect me, behaving in a certain way that I didn't feel comfortable actually acting in that way. I would do something, but then I would regret that action that I took later on. And sometimes it'll even take months. I'll wake up one morning and I'll think about, sure, when that happened all that time ago, why did it happen? It's not something that Kino today would do. Then I
Right.
started focusing on my subconscious, but I started using like meditative practices. I started reading more about it, watching all these videos. But meditation did help a lot. And then I started to focus on what was happening up here. And gradually my life and behavior started to change. Now, how I used to behave, 10, 20 years ago, I don't behave in that manner anymore. Plus chemical imbalance, like if you have to drink alcohol, you
That's right.
behave in a certain way. Like you get people out there who can go out for a drink, with their buddies, and it'll be like a cool, calm, chilled out night, have a nice conversation, a few laughs. Everybody goes home, it's cool. But then there's people that go out, do the exact same thing, but then the next thing you know, there's a bar fight that's happening because
Right.
of the chemical imbalance. And I evaluated for myself, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's linked to the subconscious. So you having some sort of substance, whether it be alcohol, whether it be drugs, and it triggers something that's related to some trauma back in the day,
Could be.
that now, okay, I want to act out now, and then I want to get violent now. You see, so there's
Yeah.
two types. And then I noticed, like in my teenage years, when I should consume alcohol with my buddies to go out partying, because of the trauma, whatever it may have been, growing up, it resulted in violence after that, with my friends and I. But these days, which I don't do as often, as I used to in my teenage years,
Mhm.
but if I had to consume alcohol, if I'm just chilling out with the family or friends, with someone's birthday or wedding, whatever it may be, I realize I'm much more calmer. I'm having a good time. I go home, I sleep because I worked on my subconscious. So when you say now that was me like manually practicing hypnotherapy in my own way,
You know what you what you're pointing to is something actually very, very powerful, which is you were observing yourself. You were
correct?
watching yourself, how you used to be, how you are now. You're seeing like the difference, and ultimately that's the nature of who we are, is that awareness. Because think about it, everything in your life has changed, right? From the moment you're born, your body changes, friends come and go, your opinions about things change, experiences change, everything changes. But there's one thing that doesn't change, and that is the silent observer. It's the you, it's the I am that is beneath it all, that's watching, that is experiencing life right now. You're watching and experiencing your life right now, but you can, in this moment, recognize, oh, well, who I am now is different than who I used to be in the past. But that observer is the same. The one watching is the same. And so you are kind of going beneath the noise and recognizing that you are evolving. And so yeah,
Yes.
it is a type of subconscious work, because you're
Yeah.
going beneath the surface experiences and questioning, why would I do that? I don't feel like I'm that person anymore. So you're watching your own actions, and that's what we all do, but most people don't. They're so caught up in life and the exterior that they lose sight of that one unchanging aspect of themselves, which is who we truly are.
Yeah. This is, it's like, going to the root of the issue. Like, if I have to sum up therapy, like what I said, it's more conscious. But now with hypnotherapy, you go into the root. That's
That's
what I
right.
evaluate. I went to the root to
Absolutely.
actually fix what was happening with me. Because if I was talking to someone about it, I wasn't really fixing the root of the issue.
No.
Like, if I'm going to use a basic example, if I have a continuous headache day after day, but I'm taking normal pain pills,
Yeah,
it's only taking the pain away for that moment.
that's
But if
right.
I wake up tomorrow and I got the same headache, clearly there's something else that's going on, up there that I need to get checked out. And I need to get further down now to investigate what's happening, of course, with the doctor to find out, what's up. Why am I getting these headaches all the time?
That's right.
And there's a
Interesting you
lot of
say
people.
that, because my
Oh no,
next
sorry.
client is someone who has had headaches for 20 plus years. And I've had
Wow.
previous clients who've had headaches for years and years. And after 1 or 2 sessions of hypnotherapy, the headaches are gone because we've rewired the root cause. And that's really what you're describing. I don't want to bash therapy, because I know many therapists and they're very caring people and they do want to help, but the ability to help with traditional therapy is limited. And now a lot of therapists are learning hypnotherapy. They are learning other techniques. But you know what the medical community does? Let's take the example of anxiety, right? Which is my specialty. It's like, in your car, you drive, you have a check engine light. Most cars have the check engine
Yeah.
and it just comes on, right? So what the medical community does, instead of like figuring out the root problem, they're like, well, we'll just put some tape on this, check it, we'll cover it up. You're not going to see it. It's fine. Nothing is wrong. Or we'll take the bulb out. We just take the bulb out. Okay, but you haven't fixed the root problem. So all these medications that people are being put on is not solving the root problem. And the reality is that anxiety is not a mental disorder. It is a shared part of humanity. It is part of being human. To go into this anxious state, to have anxiety, because that anxiety pushes us to a point where we realize we can't live like this anymore. And we're trying to control the outside world. We're trying to appease and feel good with all of these outside changes. And finally we go, this isn't working. I'm not feeling better. Like, I can't control the outside world. And then we turn within. So the anxiety is the alarm clock of the soul telling us, like, wake up. Like, the way that you've been operating is not working. So we're speaking about the same thing. It's really about that. It's about doing the inner work.
Yeah. So since you brought up anxiety, wow, what a topic. Now, your book, From Anxiety to Awakening, is changing the whole narrative of what we all believed, including myself, what anxiety actually is. And I want to quote this: anxiety is not here to destroy you, it's here to wake you up. That hit
That's
me.
right.
The few pages that I have, read so far in your book has changed the whole narrative for me on what it actually is. So in the book itself, I've just reached the first insight. So I'm looking forward to concluding that book. But before we get on to, anxiety and the book itself, I want to share another personal experience with you. So my whole life, anxiety always, or what I thought anxiety was, okay, it always played a huge role in my life. The anxious thoughts, being under pressure. Whether you were working for someone, which was a good portion of my early 20s, you know, you felt there was a lot of anxiety, where you never meet deadlines, or it was labeled, anxiety. When you're running your own business, it comes a lot of pressure as well. Anxiety comes into the mix again. Just this Monday, I labeled it an anxiety attack.
Okay.
So on one of my other shows, which is called Talking Back to Suicide, which is co-hosted by a retired psychiatrist who's based in the States, in Oregon, the topic came up again of anxiety, and I shared that personal experience. I woke up in the morning, and it doesn't happen to me all the time, but I do have my moments. So, but before I get to that, so in 2019, when it did happen and it was quite severe, my GP at the time, he diagnosed me with anxiety, and he told me that given my lifestyle, given how ambitious I am about my career and about my life, about my goals, about my objectives, I am going to always have anxiety. So all I can do is
Wow.
manage the anxiety. Now, of course, to manage the anxiety comes medication. So the thing is, now on Monday, I woke up and I had all these anxious thoughts. Now, the thoughts were also clashing with my emotions at the same time. So I've always kept medication on hand.
Mhm.
So possibly after this conversation and reading your book, I won't have a need for medication anymore. But the thing is, I thought to myself, okay, so the medication was finished. I woke up in the morning, I could feel it building up, building up. It's so crazy how
Mm.
the universe works. Hey, this happened on Monday, and yeah, I am talking to you today. So I wake up
No
in the
accident.
morning, and I could feel like something is building up, in here, in here, and I'm like, okay, Kino, just breathe. I prayed, I did my meditation. I thought, okay, let me see if I can go and fight it out, for today without the medication. It reaches 10:30 a.m. I'm like losing it. I'm like
Mm.
losing it. I go to the GP, I get the medication, I take one tablet, and I can feel okay, I'm getting a bit calmer. But here's the thing now. Here's the thing. Is it the medication that's really helping me, or my mind telling me that it's helping me that calms it down? You know?
Yeah. Are you
That
asking
that
me?
yeah, I'm asking you,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Listen, uh, this is the truth that they don't know exactly how these medications work. They understand what it might be doing, but if you ask them, well, how is it actually lowering anxiety? They can't tell you. They just know that compared to a placebo, it's a little bit better. But the placebo is very close. So if you take a sugar pill, if that doctor gave you something that was a sugar pill, you would have started feeling calmer because your subconscious mind said, okay, fine, I've done something. So I can't say that medication doesn't help. For some people, it is a bridge. It is something that helps them get to a point where they can do the inner work. However, the placebo effect is very strong. And I'm curious, how quickly did you feel better? Like minutes? How many minutes after taking the pill did
minutes,
you feel better?
minutes.
Like a few minutes, like less than 5 minutes after?
Yeah, less than five
Yeah,
minutes
that
after that.
see, that couldn't be the pill because it takes time for the body to dissolve it, to move it into, your system, to get it the impact into the brain. It could not have been the medication at that point.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to figure out for myself. Was
Well,
it
that's how
taking the
powerful the
tablet?
mind is.
Exactly. So because I took the tablet, it enhanced the mind,
Yeah,
and something happened up there
that's right.
to just start bringing like positive thoughts now back into my mind, calming me down here, but thinking it's the medication. But is it
Sure.
really the medication? Or is it just, me in the wrong frame? Whereas, you know, um, how can I explain this better? There was, I think it was one of the Harry Potter movies, and there was this antidote, and Harry Potter gave it. Are you familiar with the Harry Potter movies?
I let my kids watch it. I'm not into that,
Yeah.
but
So there's two main
I know the
characters.
general
Yeah.
idea.
So yeah, okay. So Harry Potter, everyone know who Harry Potter
Yeah,
is. And then there's his best friend who's Ron, and there was this antidote that brings you good luck. So Harry Potter, manipulated Ron into thinking, okay, that he really did give him the antidote, in his drink, but he didn't give him the antidote. And when Ron went onto the field, I forgot what the sport is called. Ron was like in his best form ever, thinking because he took the medication, not the medication, the
he
antidote
thought the
for good
antidote.
luck. just afterwards, Harry Potter shows Hermione now, who's the other best friend,
Right.
in the franchise. I still got it. It's all a matter of mind,
That's
you
that.
know?
That's
So
it.
I feel it's the same thing that happens to me, you know? So I
Absolutely.
take
It's
it
the
and I
truth.
feel okay because I took it. Now I'm at my best self.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
sucks. To be honest with you, it sucks.
Why does it suck?
It sucks because, I mean, why do I need to, be in that state of mind? Why do I need to be there to think, I'm depending on this medication to be my best self? I
Yeah.
don't want to be in that space,
Yeah. And
you
that's
know?
and that's really the premise of what I'm saying is that anxiety, first of all, is nothing but an energy. It is an uncomfortable energy. It doesn't feel good, but the truth is, anxiety is, if you look at it from a human evolutionary perspective, it was designed to keep us alive. So if, like, you're aware of threats, that you can negotiate them. But what we're doing in today's day and age is we're using our mind to try to predict every possible eventuality and to feel that we're always at risk. When you're in an anxious state, you're not in the present moment. You're spiraling into the future most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. Or the
So,
past.
or the past, and it's said that, when you go into the past, it's depression. When you go into the future, it's anxiety. But
Yeah, yeah,
ultimately,
yeah.
our what we are and who we are is so powerful. Our minds are so powerful that we can heal ourselves. And but we don't need to heal ourselves from anxiety. Anxiety is there for a purpose. It's there to grow us. It's there to show us what's not working in the way that we're living our life, so we can make the changes and turn within.
Wow. That's powerful. That's
It's a
powerful.
it's a it's like the pressure that creates a diamond, right? Like a
Yeah,
diamond starts as a lump of coal, and really our transformation as humans is mirrored in nature. So you see it in the creation of a diamond, right? The diamond, it starts as a lump of coal. It has to have tremendous pressure to take out all the impurities over millions of years, and then it becomes a diamond. The butterfly, right, is a caterpillar. It goes into a cocoon. It goes into complete darkness. It dissolves completely and emerges as a butterfly. Or even a seed. When you take a seed and you plant it in the ground, and I talk about this in the book too. You take a seed, you plant it in the ground, and it feels like the seed thinks it's buried. Like, oh, this is the end of me. If it had a mind, right? It's like, this is the end of me. I'm buried. But what the seed doesn't realize is that's the conditions it needs to be able to push against the soil. And then a cow walks by and, drops its waste on the seed. But that bullshit that drops on the seed actually enriches the soil and helps the seed to grow. So all of those types of pressures, that's a mirror for what we go through as humans. The pressure is not meant to destroy us. It is part of our process to rise through it and to become who we're meant to be. I can tell you without a doubt that the anxiety and everything I went through pushed me to go within, to discover who I truly am, to discover my essence. And now I don't have any anxiety. I literally have no stress, because there's a part of me that is so at peace that I can access it all the time. So
yeah. It's happening for you, not to you,
that's right. Life is happening for
you
you,
know?
not to you.
Yeah. But I gotta tell you, Jake, it still feels so difficult at times.
Absolutely.
And I think also, like, I'm glad that I've gone through it, because, then that's like a lot of good content for the show, real life experiences. But also maybe being told in 2019 by a GP that, look, I'm diagnosing you with anxiety, and then being told that it's going to be part of your life,
It's terrible.
for the
That's
rest
a
of your life,
hypnosis.
then you live with that. So now
Right.
you feel
Well,
okay.
no question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's so important to say
No,
this. What doctors don't realize is their power and their power of suggestion. And so he is in a waking state is hypnotizing you to believe that this man-made definition that we call anxiety that has been put into the DSM so that it can have medication prescribed for it, that now you're labeled, this is who you are, and you'll have to manage it the rest of your life. I mean, I'm sorry, it's nothing short of like the worst hypnosis you can give to a person. He has locked you into a cage now. And now you have to say, well, this guy went to med school and he is an experience. I mean, who am I to say, no, I don't have anxiety, or no, anxiety is not a problem? But I'm
Yeah,
here to tell you it's not. It's not a mental disorder. It's simply
yeah,
energy, and it's energy that we experience as humans.
yeah, yeah. I'm glad I'm like such an open person because I'm gonna make an I don't even know if it's an assumption. I think I can actually like guarantee this. I'm sure there's a lot of controversy like around your work, from the so-called medical experts that disagree with you. You
Yeah,
know,
I'm
do you
sure.
ever do you ever get that?
The book has been out since April, and it's not like I'm in contact with a lot of doctors, but I will tell you this. I was on another podcast with a psychologist,
Yeah,
and he agrees, and he recognizes that the institution of health, the institution of medicine, is designed to categorize and label people because that's how they're trained. I mean, doctors go into their profession. I believe most doctors go in with good intentions. They want to help people, they want to heal people, but they're not really given the tools to find the root cause. They're told these are the symptoms, this is the disease, and this is the medication. And the health system, let's be honest, doesn't really want us to be healthy because there's no profit in that.
yeah,
They want to label us, give us a prescription, and keep us in that system. It's happening at such a deep level that by the time the doctors realize this, it's too late. They're too far in. They've spent too much time, too much money to become doctors, and now they're in a system that doesn't actually improve health. It just manages disease.
yeah. And that's where the awakening part comes in, in your book, for people to awaken to see what, the world really is, to see past that veil. The same people that create the sickness are the same people that are producing the medication on the other end of the stick,
That's right.
and that's
Yeah.
just how the world is operating currently within the medical field. I mean, it's a $1 billion industry,
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
billion
massive.
dollar industry. But
But I'll
like
say this.
spirituality, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, you can finish.
No, I'll say this, that the first part of awakening is beginning by recognizing that you are not your mind. You are not the mental activity that's happening. There is mental activity happening. There are thoughts happening, but they're passing through your awareness. And you mentioned, I know about yourself that like I saw myself in this way and then I saw myself in this way and I chose I don't want to be this way. The same can be done with your thoughts. You can begin to observe your thoughts. That's really the first step, is to go to a place and go, wow, my mind is really pulling me in a way that I don't want to go. And once you can create some space between yourself and your thoughts, that's the beginning of the awakening. That's the beginning of recognizing, oh, wait a minute. If I can watch my thoughts, then that must not be me.
Mm, mm, mm. One thing is also, I mean, the epidemics around the world when it comes to the drugs that are out there. At times we find ourselves taking medication for so long that we feel that we can't live without it.
That's right.
And that's another um, dilemma that, well, not really dilemma, but a problem that we need to solve in the world. You become so dependent on it that you can't live without it. So, I mean, it's like being an alcoholic, for example. If you've been consuming alcohol for the last 40 years of your life and you choose to stop, that's going to affect your body in a negative way. It can even lead to death
Correct.
because your body has become so used to it.
Same with cigarettes too. If you go from
Exactly.
sometimes, yeah, it can actually have this like shock value.
Yeah, yeah, and that could like negatively affect your life, for the years to come. And I think that's why so many, especially elderly people, are advised, let's just say you're in your 80s, to not stop smoking or not stop consuming alcohol because you're just going to see your grave sooner than you think, you know?
I don't know about that because I think that there is a natural way to diminish it. Alcohol is a poison. I talk about it in the book too. And I recommend, I don't drink. I stopped drinking a couple years ago. I just started, recognizing that this is a poison that becomes a worse poison when it goes into the body. It actually converts into an even more dangerous toxin. It goes into every cell and actually creates damage. So ultimately, we have to go to a place where we are completely aware of what we're doing, the choices that we're making. And that's where you begin to find really your way out of anxiety, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, it does make sense, Self awareness. I know so many people that consume substances, whether it be alcohol, whether it be medication, whether it be drugs, because they know for themselves deep down that something is going on in their lives.
Sure.
But because I don't want to fix what's going on or address the issue,
I don't want to face it,
I
right?
rather yeah, I don't want to face it. So I rather consume alcohol each day to block it out.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is you're going to wake up the next morning and nothing's been resolved about that problem, about that specific issue. You know, like on talking back to suicide, which is one of my other shows, um, you know, having anxiety, having depression, like with all the guests that have come on to that show, medical experts or just average individuals who have gone through some form of mental illness, anxiety falls under mental illness to them. And so I brought up, the question of the work you do being so controversial, to the medical experts, because many of them that have come onto the show still feel anxiety is a form of mental illness that needs to
I
be
know.
treated via therapy, via
I know.
medication, you know, it's there.
Absolutely. They do believe that because that's the way they've been trained. But if you take a moment to step back and really look at what anxiety is, it is the misuse of the mind. It is an energy that passes through us. The example I like to say is, imagine I gave you a flashlight, okay? And I give you the flashlight. I say, this is a very powerful tool to navigate in the dark. And you go, awesome. And you turn it on in the pitch dark and you light your path and you go, okay, cool. This works. I can see the path right in front of me. And so you're like, good. And then you say, well, but I don't want to just see the path in front of me. I want to see 10 miles down the path and I want to see around that corner. And so you start like trying to get the flashlight to, shine further. And it's not designed to work like that. So you get frustrated at the flashlight. You're like, this thing's a piece of crap. But it was never designed to do that. It was not designed to show you, you know, 6 months down the line or around the corner or behind a wall. That's what we're doing with our mind. And that's what's creating anxiety. Our mind is great at helping us deal with what's in front of us, maybe thinking about, certain um, choices we want to make, but it's not designed to be a fortune teller. It's not designed to give us every possibility of the future. And when we use it like that, we're misusing the mind. And that's the root of anxiety, is thinking about every possible what if, thinking about every possible how everything is going to go, a lot of times worst case scenario, and then preparing us for a scenario that likely will never happen. I mean, how many times have you done every like what if in the world and it never turns out the way you think it's going to turn out anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the process of life. And the next thing you know, anxiety, over that. It's
Yeah, I mean, it's
crazy. And I mean,
like thrown out like across the
Yeah.
board. I mean, it's like, but you begin to see it. You begin to see like how prevalent it is. You have to ask yourself, well, if everybody has anxiety, and I would say anybody over 30, 25 even, has experienced some level of anxiety. Maybe kids don't, but now kids are, in my daughter's classrooms, they're saying, I have anxiety, I'm anxious. It's a nightmare. It is the absolute worst thing that a child can say, to be labeling themselves as anxious, as anxiety, because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It becomes a belief system that this is who I am.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
passing energy.
Yeah. And there's something wrong with me.
That's
You
right.
read my mind there. I was going to bring it up. We can't even label, anxiety to adults any longer. It's affecting children as well. If we look at the suicide rates that keeps increasing each year, and the numbers just between 10 years old to 14 years old, it's a lot globally. And anxiety and depression are the main causes of it,
Yeah.
you know?
It comes down to people not knowing really at the deepest level who we are. It comes down to not understanding the nature of this reality that we're in. I'm not going to get into it on this podcast because it needs a build up. You need to understand certain things to get there. But the reality is that there is an intelligence that is supporting your life. That is the same intelligence beating your heart and breathing you, is also orchestrating all of life. And so once you begin to understand that, you can relax. You can start to go, okay, I only really need to take care of this moment. There is an intelligence that is supporting life. But trusting in that intelligence is challenging for most people. Understanding who they really are is challenging because we're so caught up in the day to day, in the
Yeah,
challenges, in the struggles. And we think life is against us, but it's not.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
transforming us.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
there's
can
so
look
much
back.
education.
Sorry.
No, 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 sorry, no, you can finish
I
off.
can look back at my life, and I can do this with every single client. And I'll ask you as well. If you go back and look at your life and you see those things that at the time you probably thought those were the worst things that could have happened, you didn't want them to happen, but now looking back, you see that if that didn't happen in that way, it wouldn't have led you to the growth and to the
Yeah,
next thing that you needed to happen. And even though it looked bad at the time, it actually was perfect for where you're going. Right? Have you noticed
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
So that
yeah,
same intelligence, that same energy is with you now, and it's with you forever. So, but when you're in it, you go, oh my God, like I can't handle this. But when you are able to look back and you start to understand, wow, that had to happen, so this could happen. And if that didn't
yeah,
happen, then all this good stuff wouldn't have happened. You start to recognize maybe you don't need that anxiety. Maybe you can just trust that what is unfolding is happening for you and not to you, because it is.
yeah. No, I 100% believe in that, and I had to learn that the hard way.
We
I
all
did
do.
this course. Yeah. I did a course once on Winston Churchill, about his
Right.
mindset throughout World War II. And he spoke about looking for the blessings in disguises. And because after World War II, he was told to leave office. And he said if he wasn't told to leave office, or what the historians, are saying, if he wasn't told to leave office, he wouldn't have had time to write his memoirs of what he was thinking and what was going on up here and in here throughout that period. And the people say that if he did not do those memoirs, we would have had plenty other world wars that would have followed
Wow.
if it
Amazing.
wasn't for that. So
Yeah.
we always have to look for the blessings in disguises. So I agree with you. So when you're going through a rough patch, right, and you asking yourself, oh no, why is this happening to
Right.
me? God, why are you doing this to
Right.
me? And then you're on your knees and you're praying and you know you want to take your life, you know, you need to just trust that, okay, whatever is happening for this moment is happening, you know, for a reason. It's like
Yes.
what happened with me over the last 2.5 months, you know, not having power. I
Yeah.
mean, there was a lot of anxiety going on there, you know, with me thinking, okay, you know, like I'm completely offline, you know, I can't do much right now. I need to keep the communication going between, you know, who was supposed to be on the show and the publicist and all the other work that I do, you know, with the record label, you know, all just came to a standstill. But then I just decided to just like, you know, breathe, which is crazy, right? Because going through that, I could still breathe. You know, it gave me a chance to like redo the studio. This actually wasn't my studio
Okay.
before. You know, it was in a much smaller space, you know, within this apartment. But it
Okay.
gave me time to like, you know, redo the
It looks
studio,
great.
you know, make a few upgrades here and there, really self reflect, you know, because of that. But why I say it's so crazy is because then I'm thinking, okay, but what the flip has happened to me on Monday? If I can get through if I got through the last 2.5 months with no power, you know, still managing my life and you know my time, uh, then I wake up Monday morning and then I feel like my whole world is crashing.
But nothing
So I'm
changed
just trying
really,
to,
right? Like it just nothing changed from like Sunday to Monday in your life, right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's and that's when you begin to recognize and watch that, not as someone wrapped in the anxiety, but recognizing, wait a minute, my mind is really trying to pull me into this place, but I don't really need to go there. You don't need to fight anxiety. You just need to see it. You just need to observe it, you know? Um, for me, one of the things I have a board here where I write kind of downloads that I get. And I said, every challenge in life only exists to make you better and stronger. So welcome it. And there is a lesson in every challenge. I'll share with you what to me I think was the biggest catalyst in my awakening. Okay. So I'm the co-founder of a mental wellness app. And this app was on the verge of a massive deal with one of the biggest companies in the world. Okay. This was
yeah,
going to be life changing money. Okay. Money that I would be set for generations to come. The company was pursuing us. They wanted to close the deal. And we had a call with them. And they told us on the call, we're doing this. We're doing this. And so I said, okay. So I hang up the call and I'm just like, yeah, it was unbelievable to me. And I would remember doing like a little dance and I was like, everything I've worked for my whole life is finally I can relax. Okay. So I'm like, I can relax. And in the next few weeks, I was like smelling flowers. I was looking at sunsets. I was enjoying my kids' laughter. Nothing bothered me because everything I wanted or thought I wanted was on its way to me. Okay.
yeah,
Few weeks go by and there starts to be some hesitations. Some like just things are not happening as quickly. And I was like, it's okay. Deals this big take time, right? So I try to keep positive. Long story short, we get to a point where they say, unfortunately, our stock performance and profits are not where we want them to be, and we're not going to be able to do the deal. And I was crushed, right? It was like winning the lottery. You won the
yeah,
lottery, and then you go to cash in your ticket, and they go, "Oh, this was from the week before. You have winning numbers, but not for this week. It was for the week before." And you just
yeah,
go, "What the heck?" So I asked myself, I was really crushed, but I had already been doing this work. And I asked myself, what am I supposed to learn from this? What's the lesson here? Like, why did I have to go through that? That was awful, so painful. And what came through was a message that said, did anything actually change when you were so at peace and enjoying your kids' laughter and smelling the roses and the sun sets. Did anything change? And I said to myself, no, nothing really changed. Money hadn't hit the account. Nothing, no deal was signed, but I was all of a sudden at peace. And I started to realize that if I can create that feeling without anything actually happening, without the money actually being in my account, why can't I access that all the time? Why can't I just live like that all the time? And it was mind blowing. And I kid you not that from that moment forward, I started living my life as if I already have everything I wanted, because I did. I had it in me. I didn't need that to actually happen to feel that way. So that was a massive catalyst for my awakening. And I talk about that in the book too. It's just a matter of recognizing that what you're looking for is already in you. And you can live your life, and you can work to grow and to achieve and to build bigger, because we all have that inside of us. But you can be okay right now and just be at peace
Yeah.
right now. It's possible.
Yeah. I love what you said there about creating the feeling. It's like when we talk about, what we manifest in our life, we first have to feel it like we already have it.
That's right.
And that automatically, changes the mood and then your subconscious, because I mean, the mind doesn't know whether you have it or not,
Yeah.
but your whole reality will start to change once you actually have already like created that
Yeah.
feeling, you know?
Absolutely.
And yeah, it can be difficult at the start. Okay, how can I create this feeling? Maybe I desire XYZ, but I know I don't physically have it. So how do I
Yeah.
create that feeling? So it's a lot of practice that goes into that as well, to wake up in the morning full of smiles and joys and be like, yo, already got this.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's really, I'm sure you've heard what's yours is yours. Like what is in store for you really is in store for you. I used to hear these platitudes and be like rolling my eyes, but with all the work I've done, with all of the insights I've uncovered, because I didn't invent this stuff, right? The truth is the truth. And the truth is that we're here for a purpose, and what is meant for us is coming for us. It's going to happen. You cannot not get it, and what's not meant for you is not coming to you. So if something is meant for you and you feel it, it's because it's in there. And so you can relax, you can trust, and you can just be present and work on this moment and know that sorry, what you need is coming.
wow. Wow. Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. You know, and I mean, that also happens to me, to be completely honest. As you said, inside, it's going to come. And at times you just need to be like patient,
You need to be
you
patient, you
know,
need to
patient
trust.
with yourself and just be present. That's why,
And something else so important, the challenges that you're having are preparing you. They're sharpening you like they're it's like when you make a sword, a steel sword, the every time it goes in the fire, it's becoming stronger. The steel becomes stronger. That's another
yeah,
perfect metaphor for life. These challenges that we're facing are meant to refine us and prepare us for what's to come, because without those things we wouldn't be able to receive it in the way we need to.
yeah.
So
It's like
trust
if
it.
you exactly. It's like if you asking God or the universe, that I desire XYZ, you know, the universe is first going to take you through different levels to get there.
That's right.
You know, it's not just gonna like you're gonna wake up the next day. Oh, here it is. You
Right.
know,
Right.
you have to go through different levels. No, 100% agree with you. I mean, you and I will not be having this conversation today, if we both didn't have to go through a lot of
That's
hardship along the way as well. I mean,
yeah.
people don't know how many years it took for me to build the podcast, to get it to this level. It took a long, long time, you know, of me showing up alone on the show, for you to get your book published and build
Yeah.
your career. You had to go through a lot of dark periods
That's
as well. And never just like, boom, there's it.
that's
It
right.
happened.
No,
you know?
that's right.
So a lot of people have to just trust the process. I gotta trust the process,
Yeah.
and I gotta separate, those thoughts, those negative thoughts at times, like you mentioned. The next time something like what happened on Monday happens. I'm not
Yes.
saying it's going to be easy. We're not telling the listeners it's going to be easy, but these are the methods to use. You know, get Jake's book, read it. I've just started out, with it.
You're
My
gonna love
agenda
it.
is,
It'll change your
yeah,
life. It'll change your
yeah,
life because it's not a book of information. It's really a book of transformation. Because as you read it, you begin to reflect on your own life and you begin to see the truth in every single chapter. I'm not giving you new information. I am revealing and uncovering what's already true. So by the time you get to the end of the book, your perspective has totally shifted and
yeah,
you are in a different place, you know?
yeah. It's like you've been conditioned this way, so now it's about just reprogramming.
And
You know,
I'm glad you actually said that because ultimately what I do as a hypnotherapist is I dehypnotize. The book is a dehypnosis manual. It is meant to shed all of the false beliefs, all of the limitations, all of the programming that we all carry and show you the truth because it's not a matter of adding information. It's really a removal process. Overcoming anxiety isn't about doing more. It's about being. It's about shedding the false layers that are
yeah,
keeping you stuck.
yeah. We need to unlearn.
That's
We
right.
need to unlearn.
Yeah, and we
That's what we
can.
need. Yeah, no, 100%. So, Jake, as we conclude the show, I mean, I'm blown away. I'll be honest with you. Like I got a lot to think about, not only for myself, but also for my own clients. I mean, the reason I got involved and integrated mental illness, with the creative space, was based on my own experience building my own musical career. And there's this book that I came across. It's called The Price of Greatness, and it goes on to talk about closing the gap between being a creative individual and depression and anxiety, because it states that there's madness in each and every single one of us as a creative individual. And when we look back at history, there's a lot of truth in that. It goes on to talk about how nonfiction authors will have more suicidal thoughts, fiction authors will suffer with depression more, entertainers will consume drugs, musical entertainers, and then I compared it to the real world, being in the industry myself, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. When a DJ goes up to perform, like a mainstream DJ, there's a lot of drugs that are consumed because it gets his hype going and he's interacting with the crowd more. But is it healthy for his own growth? No, of course not.
No,
You know, of course not. So, I mean, your book is a true game changer that's not only going to educate me, in my own personal capacity and career, but also what I can pass down to my clients. But where I was getting to with this, why I integrated it was because I wanted my artists to live a fulfilling life. Because we see so many artists these days that make it big. They're performing on the biggest stages around the world or even locally. They've made it financially, yet the record labels own it all.
mhm.
They just don't know it yet. But I mean, that game is changing with the independent space. But then when the buzz is over and it's starting to decline, that's when the depression comes
Sure,
and the anxiety comes. And now there's substance abuse. And how many greats have committed, suicide? Let's talk about Whitney Houston. Let's
sure.
talk about Avicii. That comes to mind first with me. Two that, honestly fall under my top 10 of artists that I adored growing up. I mean, Avicii is more relevant, more in the modern world, but still a DJ that, I looked up to and still listen to his music till today. So, I mean, if they came across your work, could that have been a game changer? You know, who
Potentially.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But with your work, we possibly can change a lot of people's lives, not
Yeah.
only artists, a lot of lives moving forward. So
That's
Jake, where can people? Yeah, yeah. No, sorry, you can conclude.
and that's why I wrote the book. It is I didn't write this for me. It was written through me to be
Yeah,
a gateway for people to to love themselves and to get out of this anxious mind state.
love yourself. Yeah, love yourself. Jake, I truly appreciate what you're doing. For humanity. Like much love.
Thank you.
Much love. Honestly, keep at it. So I know people can find your book on Amazon. Is there any other platforms that you
Yeah,
want to
if you
mention?
want to visit my website, it's anxiety2awakening.com. And you can find how to contact me, or I also have courses that are in the work, so you can sign up for those courses when they become available, and I also have some resources that support the book on there as well. So
And that's all on your website.
that's all on the website. Exactly.
So for a listener, like my listenership is like spread. So I'm going to use South Africa as an example, because I'm in South Africa. Like if I want to reach out to you, is that possible for someone to like, because you mentioned the courses and so on. Is it courses that you just sign up for? It's like pre-recorded courses.
So the courses are still in the works. I have a waiting list right now for the courses. But if you want to contact me, I'd love to hear from my readers, so my contact info is on the website. I love to hear from readers. I love to hear how the book has impacted them. And if I can help in any way to, reach out to me. I do offer some coaching programs as well that I work with people one-on-one on really transforming their life. So happy to help anyone that feels like it's the right alignment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel there's a lot of psychologists that need to reach out to you.
The
I think
paradigm is
they need to
changing.
go.
The paradigm
Yeah,
is
yeah.
shifting. Yeah.
Their
Thank you,
software,
Kino.
a good percentage of them, as you said at the start of the show, there is some good ones out there. But I also feel, there's ones out there where, their system needs to be upgraded,
They need the
you
update.
know?
They need an update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't be
Absolutely.
paying, I mean, hundreds of dollars, going to see the psychologist, but it's not benefiting you. And that's where the wake up needs to happen, you
Mm.
know, to come back and self reflect. Okay, I've been seeing the psychologist for 2 months, but nothing's really improved in my life. And that's for me to realize, and then for me to look at other options that are available out there. Now there's Jake.
Happy to help.
Yeah. Jake,
That's
thank
what I
you
do.
so much. Once again, this honestly has been overwhelming in a positive way, you know, really positive way.
Thank you,
Thank
Kino. I
you so
appreciate
much.
it. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, yeah.
Great to be
Keep it
with you.
up. All the best with your book, and I'm looking forward to finishing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Have an awesome day, Jake. Thank you
Thank
once
you.
again. All
Take care.
right. Bye.